Good evening and welcome to the Guilderland Central School District's Board of Education meeting. Today is May 7th, 2024. Can everybody please silence their cell phones and stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and it looks like we have a few public comments, so we'll start with the in-person. First, we have Julie Petty.
Members of the Board of Education. My name is Julie Petty, and I'm the president of the Guilderland Music Parents and Friends Association. Last March, we presented information from several parents and students concerning significant space issues and constraints experienced by the music programs at the high school that impact the quality of music education for all of our students. After that meeting, many of you participated in a tour of the facilities so you could see for yourselves the challenges our students and teachers are facing. Last September, we raised the issue again, and GHS students spoke and presented petitions with hundreds of signatures, along with a justification of the impact the space issues are having on their education. We were encouraged by and greatly appreciate the expressed support of the board in this area. Shortly after presenting the board with our petitions, a Future Ready task force was established to look at all spaces across the district. With such significant needs of the music facilities, we are concerned that our message, which was supported by the board, has turned into a task force to look at all district spaces. While we appreciate the efforts and work being done, we are concerned that the music department's voice will be lost among the many areas now vying for resources. Our music facilities are among the worst in the area. Schools with significantly lower student populations have better facilities, and many districts have recently undertaken or are voting on soon capital projects to improve their music and performing arts facilities. We would like to bring to your attention the accomplishments of the music programs at Guilderland during the academic year, especially at the high school level. Guilderland has been named one of NAM's best communities for music education for the 14th time. At the recent Music in Our Parks Festival, the concert choir, wind ensemble, jazz ensemble, and symphony orchestras were all awarded Best in their category for all divisions in the competition. At the NYSSMA Majors competitions, the wind ensemble, symphonic band, and concert choir were all awarded gold medals. At the Suburban Council, 25 middle and high school students were selected to participate. 29 high school students were selected to participate in Area All-State. For the NYSBTA Statewide Honors Band, 9 middle school and high school students were selected to participate, and at All-State, 4 high school students were selected, including one for the second year in a row. When our students come back from these festivals, their first comments are on what a great experience they have. Their next comments are often related to the fact that almost every school they travel to has better music facilities than Guilderland. When a music program that is as successful as ours is and serves as many students as ours does, but does not even have a classroom for its bands, significant changes are needed. We think our children deserve better, and we ask that you continue to keep this need as a high priority. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erin Yurden. I am the Vice President of the Guilderland Music Parents and Friends Association. And to say that the music department is important to me is an understatement. Currently, my son is a junior at the high school and is involved in band, multiple choruses, and theater. My daughter graduated in 2022 and is currently double majoring in music, performance, and education. Over the last 10 years, I have traveled to not all, or most of the schools in the Suburban Council through my children's activities, and have gotten to see how outdated and lacking our music facilities are here in Guilderland compared to our neighbors. I would also like to remind you that there are a little over 2,000 students participating in a curricular activity, not an after-school activity. These are students that are participating in something that is as essential as math, science, social studies, or language arts, yet our facilities are subpar, to say the least. Our auditorium is the smallest in the Suburban Council. We do not have a band room or other practice rooms, and they are not equipped with proper acoustic space or storage. Over the weekend, I was at the NISMA Festival and was talking to teachers from the North Colony District. They are getting ready to vote on a capital project in a few weeks. They are proposing to renovate their auditorium, which is currently the second smallest in the Suburban Council, to add a balcony with 350 seats. They are also renovating their stage to make it larger, as well as updating all of their music classrooms and practice areas. I asked her how these renovations got on the proposal, and she looked at me with a very confused look. I asked, did students speak to the board? Did the students get hundreds of signatures and plead with the board to take these renovations seriously? Did multiple parents go and speak to the board to bring awareness to this issue? Her answers, no, no, and no. So I asked, how did you make it happen? And she said, with a still confused look on her face, well, they just know we needed it. And I'll say it again, they just knew we needed it. Let me remind you of the mission of the Guilderland School District: to inspire all students to be active, lifelong learners able to achieve their highest potential in a demanding and ever-changing global community. Music is a large part of making students reach this mission. As Ms. Petty stated, our students in the music programs proudly represent our district. What are you doing for these students and for the amazing teachers that teach without classrooms and facilities that they so desperately need? Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Yurden. And then we have one more public comment. Eric and Ari Schumann.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ari Schumann, and I am an 8th grader at Farnsworth Middle School. For a long time now, I've wanted to do engineering when I grew up, and the Questar 3 BOCES P-Tech program would allow me to do this. Ever since I learned about in January of this year, I knew that it would really allow me to start my education career with engineering. This program would allow me to start engineering as well as an accelerated curriculum, which would let me complete my learning career quicker, which has only been offered once to the school district in the form of Regents Algebra and Biology. This hope, however, could be impossible, as I recently learned that the limitations that the school district has planted on this program are very severe.
As you've just heard, my son has developed a definite interest in what he wants to do. Unlike myself and almost anyone else I've ever met, he knows what he wants to do when he grows up. And he is one of, not alone, but one of a number of students at Guilderland Farnsworth that know what they want to do. These students have applied to the P-Tech program at HVCC under Questar with our partner districts across the river. And many of them have also applied to the Tech Valley School right down the street with SUNY. These programs are very easy for the district to take part in. They're designed to be cost neutral to the district so that there is no undue burden on the school district as far as being able to send students. And for some reason, there's a limitation of one student that we can send to each school every year. And from asking, we have not been able to discover where this limitation came from. No one seems to know. Everyone says, well, it's a limitation on the part of P-Tech, and we talk to them, and that's not a limitation. They can accept quite a number of students, certainly more than we have to send. It's certainly not a limitation on the part of Tech Valley School. They can also accept as many students as we decide to send every year. It's not a limitation in district that anybody knows of, other than that's how we've always done it. So I would like to ask, and my son Ari has asked, that we as a school district reconsider where this limitation came from and take steps to eliminate this limitation going forward so that we can send as many students as have an interest and have the talent, the skills, and the desire to go to these kinds of programs. I realize that it's probably very late in the year for this, and I wish we had had the understanding of what was going to happen sooner so that we could have presented this sooner, but if at all possible, I would ask that we try to make this retroactive. Otherwise, my son Ari will not be able to attend the P-Tech program as he was not selected in that lottery. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both. Marie, did you want to speak to either?
Sure. I'll start with the music advocacy We hear you loud and clear. So I do have a report later in the agenda around our Future Ready Task Force. One of the groups is our performing arts. However, that task force is not looking at just one capital project, but multiple capital projects. We are trying to work on a 20-year plan for refurbishing all of our spaces. And it is crystal clear to all of us that the performing arts is a top priority, so don't worry. And as for the P-TECH program, it is not cost neutral. They do charge us a tuition per student in the neighborhood of about $15,000 per student. So for many years, we have used, with Tech Valley, we have set aside 4 slots, 1 per grade, 1-9, 1-10, 1-11, 1-12, and we have funded those through our budget. The HVCC program is newer, and they did not really reach out to the district to help us plan. They opened, and all of a sudden I had families who had been to an open house who were interested in it. We've decided, and we're the only suburban council school district in Cap Region BOCES, to do the same methodology for the P-TECH program at HVCC as we're doing with Tech Valley, which is 1 slot per grade, just because there is an expense associated with it. So that's the thinking that's driving us right now.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Sure.
If we can find a way to make it revenue neutral, would that allay the concerns that the board has?
Is this maybe something we should follow up with offline, or
I think that makes sense, yeah. I understand you're not prepared for that level of
maybe you could email?
Sure, you're welcome to send me an email with your ideas, because if I knew how to make anything cost neutral, I would have done it.
But it's not just the tuition, it is transportation costs
Yes.
as well, which is not insignificant.
But
within
we
itself.
already have a bus going there, so
True.
students would need to be able to catch the bus in a centralized location, so that's not necessarily the problem. But the tuition is, and the budget is done and up for a vote in 2 weeks, so. But if you have cost-neutral ideas,
I do, as a matter of fact.
why don't we talk offline? though?
Offline, though,
Okay,
yes.
perfect.
Thank you very much, and thank you also. I appreciate that you all came out. Okay, so should we move on to consent items? Oh, no, I'm sorry, 2024, 2025 budget hearing.
Yes, thank you very much. Tonight's meeting is designated as our budget hearing. With 2 weeks until the vote, I wanted to present an overview of the ballot itself, as well as going to some level of detail on the budget. The ballot itself, because we have more propositions than usual. Specifically, voters will see the budget proposition, two vehicle propositions, one for our conventional plan, one for our electric vehicle proposal, a proposal at the Cobblestone Schoolhouse sale, and then finally the election of 3 board members. And I will cover each of these in the next little bit. So our 2024-2025 budget is approximately $125.2 million, which is a $5.4 million year-over-year increase, or a 4.53% increase. The levy associated with this, the levy increase is 2.74%, and the tax rate estimate is an increase of 2.41%. The gap between those two is our tax base growth factor, which is determined by OSC, by the Department of Taxation. This is a projection of the growth in our tax base. Looking at the budget in terms of program costs, capital costs, and administrative costs, we call this a 3-part budget. This is a format mandated by the state. Almost 76% of our budget is spent on program. This is in line with our historical average, where we are in the 75 to 76% range generally. About 13.5% is for capital costs, and 10.7% is for administrative costs. Going into each of those components. Program covers salaries and benefits for all of the instructional staff, teachers, counselors, aides, monitors that support the instructional efforts, professional development for our staff, all of the library, media, and computer services, transportation, co-curricular activities, and athletics. As I said, historically we go between 75 and 76%. Our current year at 75%, next year 75.8%, both in line with our general trends. Administrative is the salaries and benefits of administrators, supervisors, and their associated clerical staff, the Public Information Office, printing for mailers, research, planning, and evaluation efforts, central data processing, the tax collection process. Most of our legal services fall under administrative costs, and then costs associated with school board. And a slight, again, our numbers are very consistent kind of range, but a slight decrease from 11 to 10.7% year over year. And finally, the capital component. This is debt service, school bus purchases. Starting next year, we'll be paying a tax certiorari bond for tax certiorari refunds, and then our operations and maintenance department, which includes salaries and benefits for all of our maintenance and custodial staff. Our revenue, $41.3 million will be from state aid and Medicaid. This is a significant increase year over year. This is driven mostly by foundation aid, but we also, in previous meetings we've covered, increases in our expense-based aids, which are based on actual spending. So it's BOCES aid, transportation aid, building aid, local revenues, increase associated with interest. Interfund transfers are decreasing. We have really cut the amount of appropriate reserves in the budget. So this current year, we appropriated a little over $170,000. Next year, we've cut that to $20,000. No appropriate fund balance, and then we don't have a pilot in effect for this year. Looking at the breakdown, property taxes make up about 66% of our budget, state aid the other third, and then local sources are a little over 1%. And again, if we break that three-part budget down into more functions, salaries and benefits overall are 76.4% of our budget, so most of our budget is determined by our people, right? Their salaries, the benefits. We've seen increases this year in benefits, especially healthcare. That's been a continuing trend last year, or this current year, for next year, and it projects into the future. Contractual services and debt service, our BOCES expenditures, and again, those are mostly aidable, so we get money back the following year. The state's share of BOCES costs, equipment and supplies 2.2%, interfund transfers 0.3%. So again, exploring the tax impact of this, the current year tax levy is $80.3 million. The estimate for next year is $82.5 million, so just under $2.1 million increase. Again, the levy increase 2.74%. The tax rate projection is 2.41%. It can't provide any more accurate projections of tax rate until we get data from the various towns and assessors and find out what the equalization rates are as we apportion the levy between our communities. We are subject to a tax cap in New York State, follows a 8-step formula. The tax cap tries to break out what are your ordinary expenses for everyday operations and what are excludable expenditures for things like capital projects. And then within that, it gives you an allowable increase that's district specific for your levy increase, and that is the standard that is used for whether your budget is successful or not. So if you comply with the tax cap, you need a simple majority of voters to approve your budget. If you try to pierce the tax cap, you need a 60% supermajority. So our tax cap calculation for this year, we see that tax-based growth factor there. We add in pilots from the previous year. The $2.153 million is last year's capital exclusion. That, taken away, yields our sort of adjusted prior year levy. Then it is applied to the 2% factor, which is the lesser of 2% or inflation. Inflation continues to be well above 2%, likely to continue in the future, so we would expect at least next year to see this 2% figure again. And that gives us our adjusted levy total Potential increase, there's an ERS exclusion this year, and that comes into effect when the rate increase for either ERS, that's the retirement for non-instructional employees, or TRS, which is the retirement system for teachers. If the growth in those rates exceeds the amount, you get to exclude a fraction of it. So for us, that's an $11,000, $887 ERS exclusion. All of this comes together to show our maximum allowable increase is $2.2 million. As I said, our levy is just under that. It's still at 2.74% figure. So the levy we are proposing in the budget is $1,270 less than our tax levy limit. So that means we are compliant with the tax cap. So for the budget to be adopted, it needs a simple 50% plus one support from the community. This shows recent years, both turnout, percentage of voters who voted yes, no, the levy increase in our tax levy limit. We have sometimes levied to the cap, sometimes below the cap. We are often close to the cap. This current year, we were 0.3% percentage points below the cap. That was because this is the year, the final year of the foundation aid phase in. So we had more state aid than usual. If the budget fails to pass in May, we are able to present a budget again for the community to vote on in June. We can present the same budget or we can modify it. If the budget is defeated in June, then we have to adopt a contingency budget. Contingency budget has a number of restrictions. One, it freezes the levy increase, so the year-over-year levy is flat. And it means we need to eliminate non-contingent expenses, so things like new equipment, community access to buildings, they have to be taken out of the budget. And then finally, there's an administrative budget cap requirement, so the spending on the percentage of budget that goes to administrative costs is fixed. So were we to end up in a situation where this budget vote is defeated, we put up a second budget, that is defeated, we would have to cut about $2.2 million from our current budget in order to meet the contingency budget requirements. All right. So that's the first proposition on the ballot, the 2024-25 school budget. The next proposition is our replacement plan for school buses. Our fleet maintenance plan involves buying new buses as well as associated vehicles each year. Having this as regular occurrence is a cost saving because it allows us to prevent the stacking up of purchases if we let things slide. It also reduces maintenance costs, and it decreases the rate of buses that are out of service, so more buses are able to be on the road. For next year, we're proposing purchasing 3 65-passenger buses and 3 65-passenger buses with chains, as well as 1 24-passenger wheelchair bus. These 7 buses are gas-powered. We are also looking to buy a new transportation maintenance vehicle, a 2024 Chevy Silverado 3500 HD, and finally, a New Holland C332 track skid steer. So this is our year. Every year we come forward with a school bus proposition of vehicle maintenance, fleet maintenance proposition. That is this proposal. We have a second vehicle proposal on the budget and the ballot this year to purchase 2 electric school buses. The state, a few years ago, implemented a new mandate for zero emissions pupil transportation. In its current form, as of July 1st, 2027, all vehicle purchases that are for pupil transportation have to be zero emission. Right now that means electric. There's still the potential for hydrogen down the road, but right now it's electric school buses. And then as of July 1st, 2035, all vehicles used to transport students in the state have to be zero emission. Currently, electric school buses are significantly more expensive than conventional buses. They also require different infrastructure. The district has a zero emission task force that is working on an electric school bus fleet electrification plan. But right now, there are 2 incentives or 2 programs that would allow us to get these electric school buses at zero net cost to taxpayers. The first is an incentive program, the New York State Bus Incentive Program, NSBIP. This is a voucher that is awarded to the dealer on our behalf that reduces the sticker price of the bus. And then the second is a change in transportation aid that was included in the recently passed state budget that allows us to get transportation aid on that voucher amount, which with our aid ratio makes it a net zero cost to taxpayers. So the vehicle proposition, the second one for electric vehicles, is for one 30-passenger electric bus, one 65-passenger electric school bus, and then one level 2 charging station. This is the quote-unquote slow charger, which we're able to install without needing to do any significant upgrades or changes to our infrastructure. So we see the list price, much higher than the traditional buses. The voucher amount, again, comes off, and then we would receive the remainder in transportation aid. So the net cost to the district would be $0. So combining those two, there's zero net cost. I want to emphasize that these vehicle propositions, the one for the conventional buses and the one for electric buses, are seen as complementary. That is, we are not asking voters to pick which one they prefer. The idea is one proposal is our traditional replacement model that reduces the maintenance costs, lets us keep our buses in service. And the second proposal allows us to gain valuable experience with electric buses without a net cost to the community. Right? This lets us see how they perform on our routes. It lets drivers drive them, lets our mechanics work on them. It provides really essential experience that we want to have as we work on developing our plan for fleet electrification. Then the final school district proposition on the ballot is for the Cobblestone Schoolhouse. We're proposing to sell the one-room Cobblestone Schoolhouse to the town of Guilderland for $10,000. Because this is below market value, we have to have voter approval for the sale. The schoolhouse, which is built in 1860, is in need of significant repairs. We've put a lot of money into maintenance and upkeep in recent years. And transferring it to the town allows the town to take advantage of grants that is lined up so that there will be support the town will receive from the state to support this work to help maintain this property. And then in addition to the propositions, we have a school board election. There are 5 candidates vying for 3 open seats. The candidates are listed here in the order they will appear on the ballot. Open are 3-year terms starting July 1st, 2024, ending June 30th, 2027. The candidate who is not a current board member and is eligible to immediately serve on the board election, who receives the most votes, will be seated on the board. That's the wordy way of saying Dr. Seymour Rivera, our president, recently resigned to become a member of the State Board of Regents. That seat is open, so a non-incumbent who is eligible to be on the board, who gets the most votes, will assume that seat and join the board after the election. This is the recap of the 4 propositions, as well as the 3 seats on the Board of Education. For more information about these, we have a school budget page, so go to the Guilderland School website, click on School Budget News icon, and there's a timeline of our process, and you can see board presentations and documents throughout the process about the development of this budget. The vote day, May 21st, 2024, so 2 weeks from today. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We voted elementary schools, so all 5 of our elementary schools will have polling stations, and you vote in your attendance zone. If you want to know which zone is your attendance zone, again, go to the budget page. There's a voter info link that will provide information on which streets are associated with which polling locations. Thank you.
We can ask questions, right? I was just going to wait for you to offer. So folks keep asking me, if we are getting the electric buses for free, why are we only getting 2? And I think you would probably answer that a little bit better than I have.
Yes, so a lot of it is what can we handle, because we have to, while the net cost is 0, we have to have a place to plug them in. We have to have the capacity to charge them. our anticipation is that we will be working with a consultant to develop the fleet electrification plan and start that process hopefully over the summer. That is going to be the majority of our efforts will be in that direction. Having the large and the small school bus really balances what we can get versus what we can support. And because those are two different types of buses, we can run very different routes with them, and it allows us to sort of see how, because we have a very geographically diverse district, how the electric bus performs up on the hill, how it goes into town, how it goes on a short run. What are we seeing? If it's really cold and we send it out, what are we getting in terms of range? So the committee talked. So Cliff Nooney, head of maintenance, Craig Lips, transportation director, the rest of our committee, about what makes sense, and the recommendation was pretty strongly one of each.
Great, thanks so much. Sir, we don't typically take Q&As in the middle of the meeting, but if you wanted to make another public comment, you could do that at the end, or are we allowed? Okay. And so the consent items, I believe, are next. Do we need to vote on those?
You need a motion.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the consent items? Nate and Kim? Any questions, or everybody in favor? Everybody in favor? Okay, motion passes 6. Okay, and then the CPSC and CSE recommendations. Any questions, comments?
Those are all part of consent.
Oh, they are, okay, great. Look at us, we are ahead of, so are we on to personnel?
We are on to information items, curriculum and instruction.
Look at that, jeez, plowing through, okay. And is that?
To Rachel.
Great.
Good evening. I have several accolades tonight. First, from the Guilderland High School Art Department, 4 GHS art students had work selected for the Fulton Montgomery Community College High School Regional Exhibition. Jade Sun with Beauty Queen, Maya O with Bubble Bath, Evelise Peralta with Grocery Store, and Theo Brown with Prom exhibited, and there are photos attached to the agenda of all those pieces of work. Evelise Peralta was selected by juror Alex Higgins for a Juror's Choice Award, and Jade Sun's Beauty Queen won the People's Choice Award for the Fulton Montgomery Community College High School Regional Exhibition. So congratulations to those students. Next, from the High School Business Department, Guilderland High School students in Joan McGrath's college accounting course participated in a job shadow site visit to UHY Advisors in Albany this month. UHY is one of the nation's largest professional services firms, providing audit, tax, consulting, and advisory services to clients. The students enjoyed a fun day dedicated to learning about careers in the accounting profession. Through interactive activities and a panel discussion, 11th and 12th graders were able to practice professionalism in the workplace, as well as the soft and technical skills required at UHY. One of the best ways for students to learn about the world of work is to have them spend time on site at a business. By visiting UHY, students were able to get a feel for the workplace and ask questions related to a field of interest. The Job Shadow site visit experience inspires students to learn and demonstrates basic skills that will make them valuable assets to any employer. And our third accolade tonight, again from the Guilderland High School Art Department. I'm happy to share that several Guilderland High School art students had work included in this year's Media Arts Festival. Nicholas Camparetta had an honorable mention in the music video category. Zayn Anawala also had an honorable mention in the music video category. Rose Bell had an outstanding film in the stop motion category. Kaylee Haran had a third place in the human figure category. Jade Sun had a first place entry in the digital illustration category and also a first place finish in the digital fine arts category. So congratulations again to all the students.
And if I can jump in, the high school art show is now being displayed at the Guilderland Public Library, and the reception is tomorrow. So if anyone wants to stop by, it's excellent, 4 o'clock for the festivities.
Wonderful, thank you. So much talent in our district. Superintendent information?
All right, thank you so much. This week, May 6th through the 10th, is National Teacher Appreciation Week. This is a week that is set aside to honor teachers, and it recognizes the lasting contributions they make to the lives of children. And we just want to make sure they all know how much we appreciate them for their hard work, their commitment, not just this week, but always. We could not do what we do without our fine faculty and staff. So congratulations and thank you to all of our teachers. And another group who deserves our great appreciation, National School Nurse Day is actually tomorrow, May 8th. And since 1972, National School Nurse Day has been set aside on a Wednesday in May to recognize our school nurses. National School Nurse Day was established to foster a better understanding of the role of school nurses in the educational setting. This year's theme, Nurses Make the Difference, honors school nurses who bridge the gap between healthcare and education. We want to extend an extra special thank you to our school nurses who often go above and beyond to keep our students and staff healthy and safe at school. And as promised, I wanted to do a brief update on our Future Ready Task Force. For those who may not have been following, we put together a very large task force. It's over 50 people earlier this spring, and that group has been divided up into 5 working subcommittees. We have one for elementary programs, another for STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, and career skills is one. We have a secondary humanities task force, another that is exploring gathering spaces, and the final group is looking at performing arts. And those smaller groups have been meeting to do research. They have been doing tours of our own facilities to understand exactly what we're working with. They've been traveling to neighboring school districts to see what's possible. Representatives from CS Arch, the architect firm that we work with, have been coming to our meetings and giving us guidance and advice on how to proceed with this work. Last week, we launched a thought exchange to all of our faculty, teaching assistants, and aides and monitors. These are our employees who work directly with students in these various stages. And I can share some very preliminary results that are going to go back to our task force members, but we had 220 participants, 173 thoughts, 4,993 ratings, and with the power of artificial intelligence, I can summarize the findings, and they're pretty interesting here in a very well-written paragraph. The responses indicate a strong desire for updated, clean, and aesthetically pleasing facilities that are safe and have good temperature control and lighting. Flexible seating options and updated classrooms with functional furniture are also highlighted. Specialized environments for special education classes and spaces for collaboration and independent work are deemed necessary. The need for technology that is compatible with operating systems and thoughtfully placed within classrooms is emphasized. Respondents also called for more visually appealing shared areas, comfortable seating spots, and adequate staffing to meet individual and student needs. They suggest that the cafeteria should be updated to promote a sense of community. So that is the 30,000-foot view of all of the thoughts. So I'll be sharing the report with our co-chair of the subcommittees to dig down a little bit more thoroughly. Since we had the comments from the Friends of Music tonight, I just want to add that the subcommittee that's looking at performing arts actually did their own survey of students and staff and parents, and they have their own very robust collection of data. I think they did not do much with the thought exchange because they had gathered their own data, because I didn't really notice anything about music in there, but they are certainly working hard to make all of that happen. The hope is to have the groups be ready to make some recommendations to the board in the very early fall. We're coming up on the close here, so we're just probably going to do one more large group meeting. They will make some recommendations to the board in September, and I can see us putting together the larger facilities committee that will work with Cliff and the architect shortly thereafter. It is still looking good for us to be able to bring a proposition to the voters essentially a year from now. And we're working with our financial planner as well to figure out the best way to do that with as little tax impact as possible. So everyone's doing some good work, and I feel like we have some decent momentum. I'm happy to take questions.
I do. So when the time comes, after all of the subcommittees have made their recommendations to the board, will the board decide, or will the facilities committee decide how to prioritize where those, where music falls in, for example?
So it will build like a pyramid, but ultimately what goes on a referendum in May of 2025 is the board's decision. So the task forces will make a recommendation. I'm going to have them come to you as well as to the facilities committee to talk about what they found. The facilities committee will look at all that information plus more technical elements of the project. We'll have to weave in what is the upper limit of available funds to do the work. And then within that, what are our top priorities? So, I mean, I don't want to be a spoiler here. Everyone knows that the performing arts for music is a top priority. So people shouldn't worry that that's going to get lost in other programs. Just to reiterate what I said earlier, we haven't done this before, but we're really thinking about a series of capital projects. So between now and 2044, which is a scary way to put it, what are the 4 or 5 or 6 capital projects that we need to do to transform our learning spaces?
Thank you. I will admit, as a member of the subcommittee for the performing arts, I was also a little worried. I was like, how is this going to be one capital project? But thank you.
It's many.
Much appreciated.
And last but not least, this is a good bookend for our recognition of the Teacher Appreciation Week. Next week, May 14th, on Tuesday, we will be having our achievement ceremony in the auditorium. We'll be recognizing 39 retirees and 10 staff members who have received tenure, and they're invited to a celebration in our auditorium where they will be recognized by their building principals, instructional administrators, and supervisors. Also, Robert G. Porter will be presented a high school diploma as part of Operation Recognition. We're going to have a reception that'll begin at 5, and the program will start at 6. And congratulations to each and every one of the individuals who will be recognized. It's a lovely event coordinated by Mr. Johnson and his team. Good to be there. And that's my report.
Great, thank you. So next is board president information, which I will do in Kelly's absence. So information was recently emailed by NYSBA to each board member regarding submitting resolutions and proposed bylaw amendments for consideration by the voting delegates at the annual business meeting in the fall. This annual process sets NYSBA's advocacy efforts through the proposal of new positions and the continuation or discontinuation of those set to expire. Only boards of education that are members of NYSBA and NYSBA's board of directors may submit resolutions for consideration. Proposed resolutions, once adopted, may direct NYSBA to advocate either for or against a wide variety of legislative and regulatory issues at both the state and federal levels. And so everybody can see these important dates here. This, I don't think, is new to any of us, so we'll follow up on that. Okay. And the resolution kit is also here for everybody's reference. And I think next we move on to action items.
Thank you very much. My first item is a resolution for canvassing affidavit ballots for the school. Sorry, this is incorrect. Is it? Yes, sorry. For the May 21st election, this would designate May 22nd, 2024 for the canvassing. The inspectors that would canvass them are Neil Sanders, Linda Livingston, and Deborah Sim.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the resolution to canvass affidavit ballots? We've got Katie and then Judy. All in favor? Aye. Okay, passes 6-0.
Thank you. My next item is an agreement with the town of Guilderland to share the cost of the Director of Special Education for summer camps.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the shared services agreement? Rebecca and then Katie? All in favor?
Aye.
This passes 6-0.
Thank you. My next item is a classroom rental agreement with Capital District YMCA for the 2024-25 school year. This is a continuation of our long-standing relationship with the Y for after-school care. Rental rates are negotiated for a 3-year period and are currently approved for the 25-26 school year.
Motion to accept the classroom rental agreement with Capital District YMCA. Kim, second Nate. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. My next item is a service agreement with LearnWell. LearnWell provides educational services to students when they're admitted to medical facilities.
Okay, motion to accept. Katie and then Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passes 6-0.
Thank you. My next item is a declaration of surplus or obsolete property. In line with Board Policy 6900, we regularly issue a authorization for disposing of this property.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept the declaration of surplus obsolete property? Nate and then Rebecca. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Thank you. My next item is a continuation of our consulting agreement with Needham Risk Management Resource Group. They provide health, safety, and risk management services to the district. We primarily use them on an as-needed basis for things like indoor air quality, radon testing, and remediation.
Motion to accept the consulting agreement with Needham Risk Management. Katie and then second Judy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 6-0.
Thank you. My final item is a resolution to amend the 2023-2024 budget. This is to allow for the payment of the Crossgates tax certiorari refund. This is because this is above our total budgeted amount.
Okay, motion to accept the budget amendment. Nate and then Rebecca. All in favor? Okay, passes 6-0. Okay, and then board president action. This is for the, to recommend the appointment of the following individuals to serve as election workers at the budget vote and elections on May 21st, 2024. Should I read them all? All the names? Okay, great. Motion to appoint these fabulous election workers. Okay, Rebecca and then second Judy. All in favor? Okay, passes 6-0. Okay, board committee reports. Shall we start with audit?
We have not met since our last meeting, and we don't have one scheduled.
Okay, it is a busy time of year. How about business practices?
We have not met, and we don't have one scheduled.
Okay. Communications?
We have not met and we do not have one scheduled.
Okay. DEI committee. We did have a meeting, right?
We did. I happen to have the minutes in front of me, if you'd like me to jump in here.
Much appreciated.
So the DEI committee met on April 24th, and our standing agenda items were some reports from our subcommittees. Community engagement talked about fireside chats and trying to revision those a bit to get better participation. The communications subcommittee did not end up meeting last week. The research committee did quite a bit of work looking at our questions for the climate study, which will be released shortly in about 2 weeks. So they did some review to make sure our questions were meaningful and on target. And the student voice committee is continuing to think about how they can amplify their voices and work to create the next generation of students who want to move forward. Our teacher on special assignment in DEI talked about some of the work she's been doing around the district with various teachers. It is a long bulleted list, and I'm going to trust that if you want to look at it, it's posted to our meetings. I did a brief update on our committee membership update. We did receive several letters from students and families and staff for the next class on our DEI committee. The board is reviewing those letters now and will be appointing new members at the June school board meeting. And during the learning component discussion, because we are about to launch a climate survey for students, staff, and families, that will create the kind of the next set of data for our equity action teams to work from. Our director of DEI spent some time talking about, well, what is climate, what is culture, why is it important to understand the climate and culture of an organization, and what do you do with the data that is being collected? It was a good conversation.
Great, thank you. Marie, did they mention the date for the rally?
The anti-hate rally is Thursday, May 23rd, so it's the Thursday before Memorial Weekend.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much.
Which is a good time to remind everyone, because I've had some questions, that barring any two or more emergency closures for weather, for power outages, floods, we are anticipating that Friday, May 24th, will be the contingent holiday, and that there will be no school and all district offices will be closed.
How are you feeling about it, Marie? Because you're pretty much Puxatawny Wiles.
I'm feeling good.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How about policy committee meet?
We have not had a meeting since our last meeting. We do have one scheduled for June 11th.
Yes. Great, thank you. Sir, did you want to make a second public comment?
Mr. Van Elstein, I don't know if you're aware of this, and I don't know if it applies, being as we're effectively a government agency, but National Grid has programs to provide no-cost electric service upgrades for electric vehicle for commercial businesses. One of the companies that I work with has actually just done this in Potsdam, and if you haven't already, that can be a great way to take advantage of free money in order to get the service upgrades that are necessary to install charging stations. So,
I'll just share that we've worked with National Grid on overview of our needs and capacity, and then are working on what will be provided. But thank you.
Great, thank you, sir. Linda, were there any other ones emailed in?
No.
Okay, board issues, ideas, and sharing?
Blanca, I have something.
Okay.
So today was Advocacy Day in the New York State Capitol. About a dozen students from the high school and a member of the high school faculty joined Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in their annual lobby day in Albany. The students were active participants with 7 Capital District legislators, including Patricia Fahey, on gun violence prevention policy. They led persuasion and strategy sessions, and they scheduled most of the day for the entire Capital District team, of which there were about 40 additional members. So I think we should be incredibly proud of our Guilderland students and the faculty that supported this effort on this very deeply impactful issue.
That's great. Awesome. Love to hear that. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else have anything to? No? Okay. How about a motion to adjourn? Nate, second Rebecca. All in favor? 6-0. Thank you.